tries to wow Gordon, but Gordon can't stomach it. All new Kitchen Nightmares, tomorrow on Fox.
Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
In his second Maine visit in 3 months, Vice President J.D. Vance energized supporters in Brewer today. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. Vance is declaring the Trump administration's full support for Maine. Our Grace Blanchard was there.
Vice President J.D. Vance is calling on Mainers to, quote, defeat socialism by electing Republicans like Paul LePage.
We're here to send a signal that we're standing with Paul LePage, and most importantly, we're here to send a signal that we are standing up for the good people of Maine every single day.
The vice president made a public appearance at Compotech in Brewer, a defense technology company, which Vance described as the fastest growing manufacturer in the state.
I want to reward companies like Compotech that invest in their workers rather than in trying to ship jobs overseas just to make a quick penny.
The event marks Vance's second stop in Maine in 3 months. In May, he visited Bangor to address the Trump administration's efforts to combat fraud.
Are we going to fight for the fraudsters who are stealing your money? Or we're going to fight for your children to have a safe and prosperous community right here in the state that they love? Because if we're going to fight for the children of Maine, we got to fight for Paul LePage.
If elected, LePage said he is open to working with any Democrats to benefit the state.
I fought for you as governor. We improved the prosperity of the state when I was governor, and I intend to do that in Congress.
Vance also voiced support for Senator Susan Collins and gubernatorial candidate Bobby Charles. Neither were in attendance. Collins and Charles have both spoken out against the Trump administration's escalating trade war with Canada, which Vance strongly defended during the event.
We need to send a message loud and clear to the Prime Minister of Canada. Stop taking advantage of the people of Maine. Stop taking advantage of America. It's over. We expect fairness in our trade policy.
To boost local economies and communities like Brewer, Vice President Vance urges Mainers to elect candidates like Republican Paul LePage, who faces Democrat Matt Dunlap this November. In Brewer, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, while J.D. Vance was speaking to the crowd at Compotech, a crowd outside the venue protested the vice president's arrival. J.D. Vance's return to Maine sparked a protest from Brewer and Bangor citizens who are upset with the administration. The protesters came together to oppose several Trump administration policies, most notably the Iran war and the rising costs of essentials like food and gas.
It's an opportunity for us to protest against an administration that funds wars at billions of dollars instead of helping people with their basic medical needs.
We're protesting the whole administration overall. We're Trump, ICE, just all of it. Nothing that is going on is okay, and it will never be okay.
Vance visited Maine earlier this year in May as well. A group of protesters was outside that speech at Bangor International Airport. Both protests were organized by Indivisible Bangor, the same group that organizes weekly protests outside of the federal building on Harlow Street. Well, Matt Dunlap is running against Paul LePage for the 2nd Congressional District seat, and following news reports that Vice President Vance was speaking in Brewer to campaign for LePage, Dunlap issued a statement. It said, quote, Paul LePage brags about his direct line to the White House. So far, all that's gotten us is higher prices, a trade war with Canada raising prices, Medicaid cuts, closed maternity wards, and sending our shipbuilding jobs overseas. Now, J.D. Vance is flying to Maine to bail out LePage's failing campaign. Good luck. They'd both be better off flying back to Florida, end quote. In other news tonight, the Penobscot County Sheriff's Office arrested a transient woman on drug charges following a probation search. The Sheriff's Office says deputies conducted a probation search of an RV located at a local business in Herman. 37-year-old Christina Andrews and another person were present during the search. The sheriff's office says 2 locked safes were found, and neither Andrews nor the other individual present would provide the combinations. So the deputies seized them, got search warrants, and with the help of Bangor Fire, pried them open. The sheriff's office says they contained roughly 150 gross grams of fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamine, and MDMA. They also recovered a handgun, a realistic-looking BB gun, and approximately $3,500 in cash believed to be proceeds of drug trafficking. Christina Andrews was arrested and charged with aggravated unlawful trafficking of scheduled drugs, possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, and unlawful possession of scheduled drugs. The sheriff's office says more arrests are expected there. The trial for a Norwich Walk man charged with murder got underway today. 59-year-old Daniel Markey is accused of killing 38-year-old Christopher Nickerson in March of last year. State Police spokesperson Shannon Moss says the State Police Major Crimes Unit was called to a home on the River Road in Norwich Walk after the sheriff's office got a 911 call about a shooting there. Moss says when deputies arrived, they found Nickerson deceased. She says Markey lived there and Nickerson had been staying at the residence. Court documents indicate the two got into a fight after Nickerson confronted Markey about the way Markey was speaking to his girlfriend. Markey then allegedly left and got a gun before returning. Court documents indicate he allegedly shot Nickerson multiple times. Well, Bangor police were called to a rollover accident on Outer Hammond Street during this morning's busy commute. Authorities say they received multiple calls after an SUV left the roadway and landed on its roof between B&L Auto and Jamar Construction Products. Police and EMS were still gathering details when our crew arrived on scene. They were able to tell us, though, that the driver was the only occupant in the vehicle at the time of the crash.
The fire department were here also due to the fact that the vehicle was rollover or possible entrapment, but there was no entrapment.
The driver, whose name has not been released, was transported by ambulance to the hospital. Well, a pedestrian was injured when they were hit by a vehicle on Main Street in Ellsworth last night. Police say it happened around 8:30 p.m. when a 58-year-old woman was traveling east and struck a 59-year-old transient man. According to police, their investigation indicates the pedestrian stepped into the path of the vehicle outside of a crosswalk and without a crossing signal. They say officers also observed indications that the pedestrian may have been under the influence. The pedestrian was transported to a local hospital for treatment and was later released. The driver was not injured and no charges are pending at this time. Well, switching gears now, the city of Ellsworth is divided over a proposed RV park, with both sides saying they have the community's best interests in mind. Our Alex Schley has more.
Earlier this summer, the Ellsworth City Council elected to hold a special meeting to discuss a possible moratorium on RV parks.
A property owner to our planning board with a proposal to develop a piece of land that they own into an RV park, a 28-site RV park on 566 Bayside Road.
While the project would bring new development to the area, some residents say they're concerned about what that could mean for their neighborhood.
The concerns they brought forward was alignment with our comprehensive plan, preserving the neighborhood character of areas.
One Alton Lane resident who opposes the development says one of the biggest concerns is what could happen if the park expanded down the road and the impact that could have on their otherwise quiet neighborhood.
But the property itself is 52 acres and lines the entire left side of Alton Ave, and so we're very concerned that if the initial approval comes, what that means for the future.
But other Alton Lane residents we spoke with say they believe the property owner has the right to develop the land.
I'd like to see my kids stick around. I'd like to see them make this place better. And I think saying no to everybody that wants to build something is counter to that. I think that we need to look and see if the responsibility of building this inherently is going to help our infrastructure in the long run.
Pierce says this kind of debate is something Ellsworth has been seeing more and more of as the city continues to grow.
It's always a good opportunity to make sure that the zone restrictions but also allowances are up to state with current standards.
Next Monday, August 31st, the city will hold a special meeting to discuss the proposed RV park. 2 days later, on Wednesday, September 2nd, the planning board is expected to vote on whether to approve the project. In Ellsworth, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The Bangor area homeless shelter is asking for the public's help as summer begins to wind down. The shelter is particularly in need of hygiene products such as soap and other personal care items, along with paper products like plates, napkins, and cups. Bangor Area Homeless Shelter's Executive Director Boyd Cronholm says while the work they do is important to the community, it can also put a strain on the shelter's resources.
We have our regular overnight guests, and we had 70-some people come through here today that use 2 bathrooms. So sometimes it comes a little bit of an issue. So we asked for some air freshener, dry shampoo, things along those lines that people. Not all of that is for the people who stay here. A lot of that is for the people who aren't staying here, and they.
The Bangor Area Homeless Shelter is open every day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Well, with another year of school just around the corner, Maine colleges and universities anticipate the arrival of fresh faces and returning students. Our Sam Miller has the story.
On Monday, the University of Maine and Colby College welcomed new and returning students to their campuses as they count down the days toward the start of another academic season. In Orono, around 2,000 freshmen moved into their dorms with the help of 400 volunteers. This is a part of the university's Black Bear Bridge Week, which helps new students adjust to life on campus.
Trying to give them a range of experiences even this week before the upper class students move in toward the end of the week to get them feeling like they not only are a part of this community, they're going to shape this community, and that's really important to us.
Since I was little, I've always wanted to come to UMaine. I just didn't know what for, but I think this is going to be a pretty good choice for me.
Over in Waterville, returning juniors and seniors settled into a brand new 217-room residence facility on Mayflower Hill. It's made up of 5 houses connected through evocative bridge spaces, and each offers elevators, single bedrooms, kitchenettes, and gathering spaces. Colby College officials and students say the goal of the facility is to tighten the school's community, and they're ecstatic for what the future holds.
I'm incredibly excited about this year, and I think that this is exactly what the Colby community needs.
Maine, but this is the 5th institution that I had the privilege to work at, and in all those 5 institutions, and they've been in major cities, smaller areas, there's nothing like this building anywhere else. So I feel super privileged to be able to open a building like this one and here at Colby College.
Classes for Colby start Wednesday, September 9th, and classes for UMaine begin on Monday, August 31st. I'm Sam Miller reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And now we'll send it to Jeff for a first look at our forecast.
All right, thank you. Old Time Redemption now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Talking weather today, starting off our day not so cold, right? Lows basically mid-60s across our area, but a nice rebound as well, up near 80 again. This now is slightly above average. You average high about 77, 78. Most locations were above that today. All right, out there today, also some rain showers in the region. These are spotty. This looks a lot worse than it really is, but still, there could be still a sprinkle across the area tonight into tomorrow morning. It will not be an all-day rain. Then more rain, spotty in nature, basically back in the forecast late tomorrow evening into Wednesday morning as well. Our forecast time for tonight, though, is mostly cloudy skies, partly cloudy skies, some dense fog late. There is a chance for a few sprinkles, even a light rain shower out there, not an all-night rain, with low temperatures in the 60s. Your full forecast is coming up.
And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, we have more news. Stay with us.
You don't get to buy the government that you want.
But let's look at what Troy Jackson did, because Troy Jackson likes to keep it in the family. When Jackson was state Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Was it a coincidence, or was something corrupt? Troy Jackson is just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hi. You okay? Yeah, just changing up my look. I see that. I gotta lay low. See that brand new Hyundai Tucson? I only paid.
Huh. Well, you look stunning.
Enjoy your new car. Deal's so right, it almost feels wrong. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Get a Hyundai Tucson for 0% APR plus 0 payments for 90 days. Or lease for only $209 a month. Hurry in.
From the heart of Maine, where rugged beauty meets timeless craftsmanship, Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, taming the outdoors through groundwork, retaining walls and seawalls, building custom fireplaces that become the centerpiece of your home, crafting granite steps and patios that invite you outdoors, designing hardscapes that turn yards into living spaces, built to last, crafted for life. Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, quality in every stone.
When the morning light hits Maine, start your day with a good morning, Maine. Craig Colson, Janessa Bishop, by your side, bringing the stories that matter statewide. Local news and the forecast ahead, wake up informed, ready to go on ABC 7 and Fox 22.
Looking around our state, gas prices have taken a big jump in the last week. According to Gas Buddy's latest survey, they went up 10.7 cents a gallon to an average of $4.10 a gallon in Maine. That's 3 cents a gallon higher than a month ago and nearly 96 cents a gallon higher than a year ago. The national price of diesel also increasing around 16 cents compared to a week ago. Patrick Tahan, who is Gas Buddy's head of petroleum analysis, says, quote, gasoline, while not at all-time records, is at the highest level ever recorded this late in the calendar year, meaning Americans could, for the first time ever, see a national average price of gasoline above $4 per gallon on Labor Day, end quote. And as the trade war between the U.S. and Canada escalates, Maine companies could get caught in the crossfire after weekend negotiations fell through. President Trump announced 50% tariffs on $20 billion worth of Canadian goods, including agricultural and wood products. And with Canada promising to retaliate, Maine's logging industry could feel the squeeze from both sides. Sam DeCoste reports.
They came in with a bunch of unreasonable last-minute demands. I frankly thought we had a deal.
They asked too much, and they offered too little.
A trade war causing chaos and confusion on both sides of the border.
And it's going to destroy the economy.
Ashley Kalin advises Canadian and American businesses on trade and tariffs. Kalin warns the tariffs could cost hundreds of thousands of Canadians their jobs. But she says the U.S. will soon take their own blows after Canada officially retaliates with its own tariffs.
The intention was to bring manufacturing and bring jobs back to America. And in theory, it made sense, but the execution is not going well. I think it is going to destroy a lot of businesses and it's going to destroy a lot of lives, not just in the U.S., but in Canada as well.
Increased costs could force loggers in the Maine lumber industry to make some difficult decisions.
And if you're located in Aroostook County and you don't have the mills in central or southern Maine are just too far away to haul logs and still be profitable, you rely heavily upon those Canadian markets.
The Professional Logging Contractors of the Northeast says loggers often have to buy steel and electronics imported from Canada to build logging equipment. If Canada retaliates with matching tariffs, it could squeeze the lumber industry even more.
It's lowering morale because it's becoming really expensive and really complicated to invest in their equipment, invest in their people, invest in their businesses.
And that was Sam DeCoste reporting. And coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, we'll have your national headlines. Stay with us.
A car accident can happen at any time, and it can completely disrupt your life. It may feel like the sky is falling. That's when you call the twos. I'm your go-to guy.
Call 222-2222.
Chevy drivers across America will do a lot in the next 5 years. But one thing they won't do is pay interest on their new Chevy. Right now, get 0% financing for 5 years on all 2026 Silverado 1500 models. With no payments for 90 days. Because you've earned this summer. Now it's time to go get it.
Visit your Maine Chevy dealers.
He put his life on the line for his country. Senator Susan Collins isn't forgetting him or any of our veterans. She's delivered millions in federal funding to improve housing for veterans across Maine and provide housing vouchers to make sure Maine veterans have a place to call home. She's also worked tirelessly to provide the quality mental health care our veterans deserve. Call and tell Senator Collins to keep fighting for our veterans.
Ready to create your backyard oasis? Alexander's Professional Landscaping will work with you to create your perfect outdoor space. Work one-on-one with our landscape designer to create a unique garden to fit your family's personal aesthetics and lifestyle. Have our pros install your new lawn, garden, or patio. Schedule a consultation today by calling 573-4497. Alexander's Professional Landscaping, the way landscaping should be.
Troy Jackson likes to keep it in the family. When Jackson was Senate president, his son was one of the highest paid lobbyists in town. Special interests paid his son, and Jackson changed his positions. Just another dirty politician. SLF PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
More now on the U.S.-Canada trade war as it escalates, with both sides digging in after nearly a done deal collapsed over the weekend. Fox's Rebecca Castor now has more from Washington, where President Trump is threatening more tariffs on our northern neighbor.
An end to the U.S.-Canada trade war looked hopeful last week, but now both countries are at a standoff after Ottawa pulled out of trade talks late Friday, accusing Washington of making last-minute demands.
We cannot accept what they've offered, and we will not give what they've asked.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney claims the U.S. wanted to restrict Canada's ability to negotiate trade agreements with other countries. That's one reason a deal wasn't reached by President Trump's deadline. So his 50% tariffs on roughly $20 billion worth of imports took effect Saturday. But Canada has vowed to retaliate dollar for dollar.
We've taken countermeasures. Our interest is in protecting American workers and protecting American supply chains. They've always had the best deal, and they still would have an even better deal, but they didn't want that.
President Trump says Canada wants the benefits of being a state without being one. And announced Monday, U.S. tariffs on all Canadian cars and trucks will increase to 50% on January 1st.
The fact that we provide their security for them and they take advantage of us, I think President Trump was the first one to go, you know what, that's not the kind of relationship that friends should have.
But Democrats warn losing friends could be worse.
If we can't even get along with Canada, the low-hanging fruit here, who can we get along with?
The U.S. Trade Representative says no new talks are planned with the Canadians, but insists it was not the U.S. that made last-minute demands. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
The sister of late South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham is trying to hold on to her appointed seat in tomorrow's runoff with former Congressman Ralph Norman. President Trump endorsed Darlene Graham. Norman, however, arguing his conservative credentials are stronger. Fox's Chad Pergram reports.
Darlene Graham campaigning after a question about Taiwan tripped her up. She contends that voters are more concerned with kitchen table issues.
You know how many of them brought up Taiwan or national security? Not one. They're talking about the rising cost of health care and affordability.
But Graham is mum when pressed for details.
And is there something you do affirmatively in a piece of legislation to help drive down the cost of things?
We'll see when I get there.
President Trump compelled Graham to run for the full term. But the president takes the loss if Graham falls to South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman.
Prices are still too high. Groceries, gas, people want to see it. They're feeling it in their pocketbooks.
On the economy, the head of the GOP Senate election efforts leaning on an old foe.
Joe Biden brought 21% extra cost on the American families. We do
but
agree
we're not talking about
President
Joe Biden,
Trump
though. The Biden administration is over. This is the Trump. We're 2 years into the Trump administration.
Republican Susan Collins skipping a visit to Maine today by Vice President Vance, but he's still pitching Collins.
Susan is the most independent member of the United States Senate, and as the president of the United States Senate, she sometimes makes my job just a little bit harder. She's always asking, what does this do for Maine?
President Trump desperate to get voters to the polls.
They say, again, that Trump gets a lot of votes, but if he's not on the ballot, people don't vote so much. I am on the ballot.
Republicans hope to maintain control of Congress if Trump supporters vote, but midterms are historically presidential referendums. Democrats are banking on that this fall. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Iran is increasingly turning to cyber warfare as their military options become more limited, and they're not just targeting the U.S. Last month, Iran reportedly hacked into a British power plant and forced it to shut down for almost a week. Fox's Stephanie Bennett has more from London.
As the U.S. tightens its blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, the Iranians could be turning toward the digital battlefield. Hackers linked to Iran are being blamed for a hack attack that forced a British power plant to shut down for 4 days. It happened last month, a possible retaliation after the UK allowed the U.S. to use British bases during the war for what it calls defensive purposes.
Any complicity with the United States in carrying out its aggressive actions against Iran will certainly have consequences.
The British Department for Energy Security is now warning other power companies about the elevated risk of cyber attacks. Though the U.S. says Iran's pivot toward asymmetric warfare could mean it's running out of options.
The bluster that we're hearing from the Iranians is from desperation. They are obviously not strong. They're not in a strong position.
This isn't the first time Iran has been accused of carrying out hack attacks. It has a long history of waging cyber warfare. And earlier this year, Tehran was accused of targeting critical water systems in multiple states. The U.S. is now developing a new technology called post-quantum cryptography, leveraging AI and quantum computing to make sure America's water, power, and government systems are secure.
The information in cyber warfare, we can hit Iran from many different directions where they cannot hit us in a similar fashion.
The British government says there was no risk to the broader energy system at any point during the breach. In London, Stephanie Bennett, Fox News.
The Trump administration is taking it up a notch in its war on Iran's economy. The Treasury Department announcing crushing new sanctions against the regime aimed to sever all business ties Tehran holds with other countries. We go back to Fox's Rebecca Castor, who has the details from Washington.
We are launching an economic onslaught against Iran's financial connections around the globe.
The gloves are off at the Treasury Department as Secretary Scott Bessent ramps up the economic pressure campaign on Iran, now called Operation Economic Outcast. New sanctions unveiled Monday target 5 of Iran's most vital lifelines it exploits in other countries: digital assets, technology, gold, aviation, and shipping. And companies and governments still doing business with the regime are on notice.
Every country has a defined timeline to shut down activities we have identified. If they do not take action, we will do so unilaterally through Treasury authorities.
Treasury is not naming names yet, but as Iran's biggest oil customer, China is certainly one of them.
To actually execute a real D-Day, secondary sanctions against Chinese banks will have to be imposed.
But some Middle East analysts warn economic pressure likely won't be enough to topple the regime, and it will take a return to military action.
We cannot underestimate their ability to suffer and take this on. The naval blockade, excellent, and military power, all of that coming together, and I believe we bring these guys to their knees once and for all.
It will take time before Iran starts to feel the impact of these new sanctions. The Treasury Department did not share a public deadline for when countries must cut off Tehran, but Secretary Bessent says the U.S. does not have infinite patience. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Just ahead, we have more of your national news, including your business headlines. Stay with us.
Back in them better.
Football is back. Let's go.
How did he do that?
The NFL on Fox all season long. For type 2 diabetes.
This is Erin, a mountain climber living with type 2 diabetes. So I know.
Some of the toughest challenges are the ones nobody sees. The planning, the setbacks, the work you put in day after day.
But remember,
you don't have to face this alone.
Mounjaro helped up to 90% of adults reach an A1C under 7%. Some also lost up to 25 pounds. Don't take Mounjaro if you're allergic to it, or if you or someone in your family had medullary thyroid cancer or multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2. Stop and call your doctor right away if you have an allergic reaction, a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or vision changes. Serious side effects may include inflamed pancreas and gallbladder problems. Taking Mounjaro with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar. Tell your doctor if you're nursing, pregnant, plan to be, or taking birth control pills, and before scheduled procedures with anesthesia. Side effects include nausea, diarrhea, and vomiting, which can cause dehydration and may cause kidney problems.
Is living with type 2 diabetes your journey? Take the next step and ask your doctor about Mounjaro.
People ask me all the time, does Lowry & Associates really get all of those clients, all of those big settlements? Yes, we do. And you know what else is true? I really am standing on top of this big truck.
Here are the facts about Susan Collins and Medicaid. Susan Collins was the deciding vote to advance Donald Trump's Medicaid cuts.
Susan Collins was the deciding vote to advance the bill.
Now, thousands more Mainers are expected to lose their Medicaid coverage. Hospitals and clinics are shutting down, all to give massive tax breaks for billionaires. Look up the facts yourself and tell Susan Collins to stop voting for Trump's health care cuts.
Lindsay Clancy's murder trial will soon be in the hands of jurors, but first, the state is calling witnesses to push back on defense testimony. Fox's Caroline Elliott has more.
Closing arguments are expected this week in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial, but first, prosecutors called more rebuttal witnesses.
The answer is yes.
Well, I'm not sure that specifically answers your question.
I don't care.
A tense day of cross-examination as the trial of Lindsay Clancy nears its end. Rebuttal witness Dr. Kirk Heilbrom testified that Clancy suffered a major depressive episode in the months before killing her 3 children, but she was not experiencing psychosis.
She looked like she was having general anxiety symptoms and depressive disorders, but not so much the postpartum necessarily.
Clancy's attorney says she should not be held criminally responsible because of her mental state at the time of the murders, when she allegedly heard a male voice telling her to kill herself and her kids.
Do you understand the term postpartum psychosis? It's real easy. Do you understand that term?
It's actually not easy. It's serious, but when we do elicit psychosis after a birth, we take it very seriously.
Today, several Clancy supporters watched the trial from inside the courtroom. Outside, others called for justice for her 3 kids.
I'm not saying Lindsay Clancy wasn't suffering or didn't have mental health issues, but the real victims deserve justice.
And if found not criminally responsible, Lindsay Clancy would be committed to a state psychiatric hospital. In Plymouth, Massachusetts, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
Switching gears now, we're learning more about how space research is advancing emergency medicine and agriculture. Fox's Jonathan Seri talked with 2 astronauts aboard the International Space Station about ways their work is central to plans for outposts on the Moon and Mars.
Fox News, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is Fox News. How do you hear me?
Hello, we hear you loud and clear.
From 260 miles above Earth, NASA astronauts Jack Hathaway and Anil Menon talked about their work on the International Space Station, preparing humans for long-duration missions to the Moon and Mars, including research on growing vegetables in space.
Smells like Earth.
I miss Earth.
The more things that we can recycle, the more things that we can build locally, the fewer numbers of tons of stuff that we have to get out of the gravity well of Earth on our way to the Moon and Mars and beyond.
Those efforts include experiments with a lightweight system that turns drinking water into medical-grade IV fluid, crucial for future Mars missions, which are expected to last longer than perishable supplies, but also with the potential to save lives on Earth.
There's so many rural areas, there's so many remote areas or underserved areas or disaster zones where these kind of things would be important to generate real time.
While both astronauts have wives and children, Anil knows what it's like to be the one home with the kids.
Gather round, my sweet dragons. Your mama is back. Snuggling close, cuddle up on my lap.
His wife Anna, who read to them from space on the privately funded Polaris Dawn mission in 2024, is now in training to become a NASA astronaut.
Please welcome Anna Menon.
We're pretty good at solving problems together, and so I think we use that flight controller mentality. We don't spend a lot of time dwelling on the problems. We just quickly pivot to looking for solutions.
And it's that attitude that's powering America's space program as it seeks to send humanity farther and longer into space than ever before. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Very cool to see Maine's own Jessica Meir on the space station there doing her work. Alrighty, folks. Well, according to the National Retail Federation, families of children in kindergarten through 12th grade will spend an average of about $863 on back-to-school items. Fox's Marianne Rafferty has more from a consumer savings expert on how parents can get the most bang for their buck.
While it might seem like a good idea to tick off all the items from a child's back-to-school list before their first day in the classroom, it might be beneficial for wallets if parents pump the brakes when it comes to some supplies.
Some items are actually a better deal when you wait to buy. So if you procrastinated or just didn't get around to shopping for school, you may be in luck.
Andrea Warrock is a consumer savings expert. She says when it comes to items like summer clothes, there's usually deals now at the end of the season. And as we approach the fall, there's no shame in being late to buying some layers, citing more deals down the line.
You might be thinking, okay, but I'm going back to school. However, summer clothing like tees, skirts, shorts, dresses, those could be worn really all school year, and wait for better deals to drop on fall clothing like denim sweaters and boots come October.
And Warrock says back to school shopping doesn't have to be done at the store either. She suggests parents shop their kids' closets first. That goes for clothing and supplies.
Chances are you have supplies from last year, or maybe you still have clothing that fits your child. You don't have to buy everything brand new.
And the same goes for big ticket items like electronics. Parents can try searching for refurbished ones first before sealing the deal on a brand new gadget.
This is going to be a big way to save, especially on the more expensive items like your laptop, tablets, wireless headphones.
Warrock adds kids and parents can turn in their old electronics for cash too, and then use those earnings towards something new. I'm Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Spider-Man Brand New Day sees another stellar weekend at the box office. Fox Business's Grady Trimble has a look at that story and more in today's Fox Means Business.
Markets finished mixed for your Monday. The Dow finished in the green, while the S&P 500 and NASDAQ both closed in the red. Spider-Man Brand New Day triumphed at the box office again for its fourth weekend in a row. So far in its theatrical release, the Sony Pictures film has earned a total $855 million in North America and $2.2 billion globally. It's the fourth film to surpass $800 million in North America and ranks as the third highest grossing domestic release ever, behind only Avengers Endgame and Star Wars The Force Awakens. Speaking of movies, California's Attorney General Rob Bonta canceled settlement talks with Paramount Skydance that were set for today. Bonta accused the media and movie company of leaking and misrepresenting details from a meeting the two sides had last week. Bonta reportedly planned to ask Paramount to divest some cable channels and commit to keeping its movie studio separate from Warner Brothers Discovery before approving the $110 billion merger. Paramount denies it revealed any confidential discussions with the AG's office and says it's ready to continue good faith discussions. And a humanoid robot broke Olympian Usain Bolt's world record 100-meter dash in Beijing. The athlete's world record for the dash is 9.58 seconds. He set it in 2002. The humanoid robot at the opening ceremony of the second World Humanoid Robot Games ran the 100-meter dash in 9.39 seconds. The games featured more than 2,000 humanoid robots from around the world. That's business. I'm Grady Trimble.
I dare say Usain Bolt finished his race with a bit more grace, but nevertheless interesting to see. Alrighty, folks, stay with us. Your full 5-day forecast is just ahead.
High temperatures up near 80 out there today. Tomorrow, same story, followed by Wednesday and Thursday, but also there is some rainfall in the 5-day forecast. I'll tell you when I come back.
What is Spectrum Internet? It's secure internet for you and your family.
It's keeping kids like us safe online.
It's everything you want it to be. Switch today at Spectrum.com.
Augusta politician Troy Jackson. While his family cashed in, you paid the price. As state Senate president, he voted repeatedly for higher taxes. Troy Jackson voted to allow cities and towns to drastically raise your property taxes, hurting our seniors and working families the most. And Jackson supports raising taxes on your Social Security, making Mainers pay more while his family cashed in. We can't afford Troy Jackson in the Senate. Pine Tree Results PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We're lucky to live in Maine. We have a wealth of natural resources, hardworking people, and time for the things that matter. Mechanical Services is all about Maine, with energy efficiency that protects our environment and helps businesses grow. Preventive maintenance and energy solutions that save money. How Maine is that? Mechanical Services. We're everywhere you are in Maine.
60 years, can you believe it? And this is where it all began, right?
That's right, Kevin. Down East Toyota started right here on Oak Street in Bangor. Time has sure flown, and we've been so fortunate to sell the Toyota brand.
But we owe it all to our great employees and loyal customers across Eastern Maine.
We've come a long way in 60 years.
And all roads have led to this.
And I couldn't be prouder to carry on the tradition.
Can I say it one more time?
Go for it.
Check anywhere you wish first. Check us last.
At Spectrum, we believe you shouldn't have to choose between speed, reliability, and value. That's why Spectrum fiber-powered internet gives you all three for just $40 a month. Call now or go online.
This is The Floor, Season of Champions.
I will thumb wrestle a baby to win.
Here we go. Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Ride smart, ride safe. Let's talk weather out there for today. And again, our lows today weren't so low, right? Lows only in the low to mid 60s across our region. It will be basically the same thing tonight with kind of a warm night ahead with low temperatures pretty much in the low 60s again. A nice rebound though, 80 here in Bangor today, 79 Millinocket. We'll take it. The average high about 77, 78. So we're right near that today across our neck of the woods. And still tons of heat across the plains today, hundreds in Texas, Oklahoma, into Kansas as well. That's going to stay there for us though. Above average temperatures now probably through the end of this week. The average high about 78, so tomorrow look near 79, 81 for us on Wednesday, also 81 for Thursday. You get the idea. Maybe a bit cooler on Sunday, some rain on the way then, but generally temperatures right near average for us. All right, the wind today pretty much all over the place again. This will likely go calm for a few hours tonight. You know what that means? That means some dense fog is likely in areas tonight, especially in spots that saw rainfall today. So if you're out driving, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, look out for scenes that include some dense fog because they could be very dense across the area tonight into early parts of tomorrow morning. The fog will quickly, though, lift with the sunrise tomorrow morning, so be ready for that as well. Okay, so going forward, we're talking about near average temperatures, at least to the weekend. Probably breezy at times, too. Not so much tomorrow, more so for us late Wednesday into Thursday and Friday. It's been a while since we had a breeze around here, as you know. And then some rain back in the forecast Friday, although there could be a few spotty showers in the area tonight, and then again also for tomorrow evening as well. And we could use every drop of that. Here's the drought monitor, of course, where it's been dry. Levels 1, 2, and 3 across our state now, especially south of the Bangor area. So we could use the rainfall very much. Speaking of rainfall, the radar does see some out there now. However, most of this is virga precipitation in the cloud The radar sees it, but it's not reaching the ground. A couple of spotty showers could get through, especially west of the Bangor area tonight. Most of us, though, will stay dry. It is kind of messy over here, though, so there could be a pop-up shower at any given time, about 20% coverage on that. So just know most of us staying dry, but there could be a shower in there. Futurecast shows the clouds out there for tonight, kind of breaking on and off throughout the night. And then tomorrow, a couple spotty showers in the area as well, about 20% coverage on those. Then likely dry for Wednesday into Thursday, followed by what could be some rain showers in here Friday into Saturday. The rainfall, again, you get under a shower tomorrow. It could be a quick burst of a quarter-inch of rain. Other than that, though, we're probably talking about a 1/10 of an inch of rain through Friday, with some more, the heaviest rainfall getting in here probably late Friday into early portions of Saturday morning. Our forecast then for tonight, though, is partly cloudy skies. Dense fog is likely. Look for low temperatures down near 60. For tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. A rogue shower can't be ruled out. Look for high temperatures back up near 80. Then looking ahead, your 5-day forecast shows tomorrow 79, Wednesday 81, Thursday 81 as well. Friday 79 again, but you can see here a chance for rain Friday. That could give us maybe a quarter to a half inch of rainfall on Friday afternoon.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And folks, don't go anywhere. Sports is next.
Chevy drivers across America will do a lot in the next 5 years. But one thing they won't do is pay interest on their new Chevy. Right now, get 0% financing for 5 years on all 2026 Silverado 1500 models. With no payments for 90 days. Because you've earned this summer. Now it's time to go get it.
Visit your main Chevy dealers.
30 years living that Washington, D.C. lifestyle. That'll change a person. Getting rich from insider stock trading should be illegal. But Susan Collins doesn't think so. Susan Collins wants to keep it so senators can play the stock market, make millions of dollars doing it. Why we struggle to pay for gas, groceries, health insurance, the basics. For them to get all that money, why we're paying more, it's not right. It's not right. Tell Susan Collins to stop this congressional stock trade.
Let your creativity run free at the Creative Arts Center, where we offer fun and affordable activities for all ages. Birthday parties, pottery wheel classes, painting lessons, or just for the fun of it. Get fired up for glazing projects as well as acrylics. We offer a wide selection of ceramic products for you to choose from, and we have thousands of pieces ready to paint. We are a Paragon kiln dealer and a Laguna Clay distributor. Stop by the Creative Arts Center today, located just off the Joshua Chamberlain Bridge in Brewer. The Creative Arts Center, where your only limitation is your imagination.
This fall, everyone's favorite small-town doc is back.
The level of stupidity in this town can never be overestimated.
Best Medicine premieres September 22nd on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. Breaking news out of Foxborough on Monday. After multiple off seasons of speculation and rumors that he was on the trade block, the Patriots have officially traded wide receiver Kayshon Boutte. New England sending him over to Houston for a second-year safety, Jalen Reed, and a 2028 seventh-round pick in return. Boutte, the former sixth-round pick out of LSU, developed into a fan favorite here in New England. He recorded 33 catches for 551 yards and 6 touchdowns last season, and won fans over by seeming to have a knack for big plays. But with Patriots receiver room being the deepest it's been in decades, Boutte is on the move to Houston, who is in desperate need for wide receiver help. We have some exciting news to share with you, our wonderful viewers here at Fox ABC Bangor. We have just finalized our broadcasting schedule with the University of Maine, and we will be bringing you live Division I football, soccer, and field hockey all fall long. It starts Sunday, September 6th, with Maine field hockey hosting Davidson at 11 a.m. Then again on Friday, October 2nd, as they take on rival Bryan at 3 p.m. Those will both be on Fox. The next day, Saturday the 3rd, I'll be on the call with Jim Churchill as Maine football takes on Sacred Heart at 3:30. That'll be on ABC7. The following Friday, field hockey will be back on Fox at 3 as they take on bitter rival UNH. Then Sunday the 11th, we'll have back-to-back conference champ Black Bear women's soccer taking on NJIT at noon on ABC. Then it's 2 Saturdays in a row of football. I'll be on the call for both at 1 p.m. with Maine taking on Bryant the 17th on ABC. Then Campbell on the 24th on Fox, rounding it out with field hockey's final game of the regular season on the 19th. That will be on Fox. Then our final broadcast of the season We Black Bear football on November 21st against UNH on Fox 22. That is scheduled for a 1 p.m. kickoff. The battle for the musket, that will be must-see television up here in Maine. NASCAR holding their annual race in New England at New Hampshire Motor Speedway over the weekend. Following the weather delay, Tyler Reddick started in pole position. Stage 1, lap 1. Reddick, number 45, spins and stops. Denny Hamlin, the 11 car, and Chris Boucher, number 17, forced to stop as well. The caution flag is raised. Stage 2, lap 83. Hocevar spins out and makes contact with the number 88 car. A lot of wipeouts in this one as the rain was on the track. Stage 2, lap 148. Ryan Blaney passes Josh Berry on the inside. Blaney moves into the lead. Final lap of stage 2. Blaney crossed the line to win. 77 laps left. Scary moment here. Riley Herbst crashes into the wall, hits Zlilch. Caution flag is raised. 69 laps in. William Byron crashes into the wall, and his tire just kept on rolling. Apparently his tire went off. That's what caused the crash. 5 laps remaining. Bubba Wallace is trailing Blaney and locks up, but would gain control. I definitely thought he was spinning out there. Then in the final lap, Blaney's going to take the checkered flag. Ryan Blaney wins the NASCAR Dollar Tree 301, his 3rd win of the season, his 2nd win in a row at New Hampshire. Over the weekend, the Boston Red Sox swept the San Francisco Giants at Fenway Park. Sox finishing the sweep in dramatic fashion on Sunday, continuing to show their ability to never say die. Here was interim manager Chad Tracy after the win.
We've gotten ourselves to a place where even if we fall down by a couple of runs, in today's case, a few runs within the first 2 innings, that as a unit and a group, we feel like just stay with your approach. Like we feel like we're going to score more than 3. So as long as, we get the pitching settled, like we're still in the game. So it took a while to get there, but I think we're at that point now where, like I said yesterday, you may lose some of them, but like they're going to keep fighting and feel like that we're going to score more than that if we can slow them down, which we were able to do and continue to stack runs.
Sox back at it on Monday night, beginning a road series with the Miami Marlins. Alcantara on the bump for the Marlins. He's an all-star 3rd inning. Marlins up 1-0. Alcantara dealing early. He strikes out Nick Sogard, swinging next batter, Cedane Rafaela. He goes down looking, and in the 4th, Alcantara gets Willie Abreu swinging. He finished with 6 Ks. Marlins up 1-0. 5th inning, same score. Mickey Gasper hits it deep off Alcantara. Jacob Marcy leaps and is off his glove. Jaron Duran rounds 3rd and scores. Red Sox are going to tie it at 1 with this Duran run. Top of the 7th inning, same score. Alcantara in a bases-loaded jam with 1 out. He strikes out Sogard, swinging next batter, Cedane Rafaela. Flies out to Marcy to end the inning. Alcantara went 7 innings, allowing 1 run, his 21st quality start of the season that leads the major leagues. Bottom 7th, same score, bases loaded for Xavier Woods. Edwards lines a single in the hole off Brian Bayo. 1-run scores. Alcantara loves it. Marlins take a 2-1 lead. 9th inning, now tied at 2. Anthony Siegler rips it down the line off Tyler Zuber. Eli White rounds 3rd and is going to score all the way from first. RBI triple for Siegler. Next batter is going to be Sogard. He hits the single off Zuber. Siegler scores. Red Sox win their 4th in a row by a score of 4-2. Red Sox just keep finding a way. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Lease a new 2027 Telluride S front-wheel drive for $439 a month plus $750 owner loyalty or competitive bonus.
A few weeks ago, I went down to the basement to see what was happening with the boilers and opened the door, and there was about 12 to 14 inches of water in our basement. I knew who to call right away, and that was Bouchard. They were here within a half hour. They work well with our insurance company. They're very, very efficient, and all I have to do is call them any time of day. They're going to take care of me. Our business is our life, and that's why I don't hesitate to recommend them to other people.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basementy. Our Stable Lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new, smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
30 years living that Washington, D.C. lifestyle. That'll change a person. Getting rich from insider stock trading should be illegal. But Susan Collins doesn't think so. Susan Collins wants to keep it so senators can play the stock market, make millions of dollars doing it. Why we struggle to pay for gas, groceries, health insurance, the basics. For them to get all that money, why we're paying more, it's not right. It's not right. Tell Susan Collins to stop this congressional stock trade.
On the pavement, Sunday, October 4th at the Sea Dog on the Bangor waterfront. Register now at purpleirisfoundation.com or scan the QR code. Start a fundraiser, win prizes. Sign up by September 1st and get a free t-shirt. Goodie bags for the first 200 people to register. Cancer survivors sign up for free. Proceeds support those battling cancer in Maine. Pound the Pavement, sponsored by the Sea Dog, Summit America, Peter and Deb Brontes, Eventful Maine, ABC7, and Fox 22.
Why go downtown when you can get out of town? Find your unlimits in the Kia Sorento Turbo Hybrid. Get 0% APR for up to 48 months or $3,000 customer cash on the purchase of a new 2026 Sorento.
The Big 10, Big 12, and Mountain West.
This is a gift from the football gods.
College football on Fox.
A woodworker in Winterport is turning his skills in cabinetry into artistry. Our Jody Hersey caught up with him as he chipped away at his newest creation.
Nestled in his wood shop in Winterport, Sonny Sawyer is cutting away on his scroll saw.
Something different all the time.
Sawyer retired as a cabinet maker last year, but kept up his skills by creating handmade wooden puzzles. His works of art come in all different shapes.
Thousands of different patterns. We have over 120 dog pet breeds that we do. We do cats, horses, wildlife, farm and zoo animals.
Sawyer works alone, except for his designs. He says those all come from the Amish.
The man that draws all of these is an Amish man from Ohio. And he does everything freehand. He doesn't own a computer, doesn't have electricity.
Sawyer says once he receives the drawings, he attaches it to shelf paper that he places on sanded down wood. And then the magic begins.
I drill small holes on any of the interior cuts that we need to make. And then we just go and cut it out. We do the outside first. Then we do all the interior cuts, and then we cut all the pieces apart. All of the puzzles are designed to be freestanding on their own. The ones that can't stand on their own, we make a base for them so that they will stand.
Sawyer says making each puzzle is meaningful, not just for those who receive them, but for the man who creates them as well.
And I just love making them. They're fun to do, and yeah, I love it.
In Winterport, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
It's off just a little bit.
Some truly beautiful artistry right there. Our thanks to Jody for that report. Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it for us. From everyone here at Fox 22 News, take care and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC7, right now for ABC.
West hosts a new Jimmy Kimmel Live with Glenn Powell and Jay Shetty tonight on ABC.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
In his second visit to Maine in